Hey everyone, I apologize for the long wait. I know I haven't made a video in a month now, but I have other things going on, so there may be a possibility that I will be producing videos at a very slow rate due to interferences from schoolwork and film work and all that. But you all know that, and you have been very courteous of my preoccupation with my personal life. And I extend 1,000 thank yous on my behalf. You are all the best 622 subscribers a guy like me could ask for. I greatly appreciate your patience, but that's enough of that. Time for me to do another hate rant. And today is a topic I've been waiting to tackle for a while now. But I postponed it, mainly due to a lack of sufficient amount of facts and evidence, but now I've got enough material to do a decent length video. So let's get to it. The character that I will be defending today is none other than Marvel Comics Star-Spangled Boy Scout Captain America. Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, was created in 1941 by writer Joe Simon and artist Jack Kirby. During the World War II era, Cap was a character whose sole existence was to help spread American patriotism in the real world and intensify the US and Allied forces' animosity towards the Nazi and Axis powers. This is proven no clearer than by Cap's debut comic issue, which featured an image of Cap punching Adolf Hitler in the face. Pretty hard to imagine how you can get more iconic than that. But as World War II came to pass, Captain America, along with a lot of other Marvel propaganda characters, were shelved and never seen again for a long time. In the early 60s, however, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby brought Steve Rogers from the World War II era into the modern one. Since one of the defining aspects of the characters created in the Marvel Comics Renaissance in the early 60s were character flaws, insecurities, and other imperfections that made the characters identifiable to the modern reader, Captain America was made a fish out of water type character. A character out of time who has to adjust to a new time period and accept the fact that all the people he knew and loved were either dead or really old. Captain America is very much the Superman of the Marvel Universe. Not in terms of power and ability, mind you, but more so in reputation and reverence from the other characters. That's one of his unique features. So you would think that a character like that would be fairly popular, right? Well, that's not really the case. Like Superman, there is a tenacious following of people who absolutely despise Captain America for a number of reasons, and like my Superman video, these are reasons which I think are made up of total fallacies. One condition about this video is that I am not going to repeat myself concerning the fact that most of these morons have never read a comic in their life and have no knowledge of the real Cap. I may have to reiterate that point, but I'll try to avoid doing so as best I can. The first thing that people really love to hate about Captain America, which is the least important criticism in my opinion, is his costume. I've heard just about every single complaint about the costume there is, and not a single one of them convinces me. Everyone maintains the obvious comment: it's a stupid looking costume. Allow me to retort with my own comment. No fucking shit. This is comic books. colorful costumes are the norm. There is actually a reason as to why most superheroes wear such colorful and ostentatious get-ups, so you can tell each of them apart. In case you haven't noticed, there's a lot of goddamn superheroes running around in the DC and Marvel universes, so being able to tell them apart is a lot more than just mandatory. And when you compare Captain America's outfit to some other Avengers, like, say, Thor, a guy with a blonde mullet and a helmet with wings on it, Iron Man, whose armor is colored red and yellow, a color scheme that has no tactical advantage whatsoever, the Hulk, a giant green bodybuilder, Vision, a guy with a green cape and a red face, or Hercules, a guy with a weird bandana thing on his head, Captain America looks pretty fucking normal compared to all these guys. Next point is the huge misconception that Captain America is a poster child for steroid use. Where do I even begin with this retarded assertion? Most instances of steroid use are when an athlete who is already good at something decides to artificially maintain his consistent performance. Most occurrences of steroid use are by people who are already in really good shape. Steve Rogers was a tiny, anorexic, and sickly kid. He was asthmatic and very prone to disease. The probability that he would survive his boot camp training, let alone a battlefield for more than 2 minutes, was very low. There was no other way for him to be able to help the army and serve his country. So he volunteered to be the first man to receive the super soldier serum, an experiment he knew could very well kill him. But he was strong-willed enough not to let that happen. A tiny, sickly, skinny kid who receives a risky injection that can either kill him or turn him into the perfect human being is not an allegory for steroid use because Steve Rogers was small and weak. Real-life steroid abuse involves guys who are already physically fit and strong who are seeking to become more like that. And another reason that it's a bad allegory is because Steve Rogers volunteered due to the fact that he wanted to help people. He wanted to protect his country from the Nazi threat, not win a freaking baseball game. Why is Captain America the poster boy for steroids and not the Hulk, or Spider-Man, or the Flash, or in fact, all characters who were normal once, but a science-related event happened to them that made them into superhumans? The entire idea of regular people being given superpowers from scientific accidents could be an analogy to steroids because none of those characters had to work for their powers. They just had to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Or in the case of the X-Men characters, they just had to be born with it. There was no guarantee that Steve would survive the experiment. He risked his life so that he could be shaped into a symbol of hope for the Allied forces. That is why saying Captain America promotes steroid use is fucking retarded. The context for which the super soldier serum was needed and the context in which real steroids are used are completely different. Steroids are taboo and illegal in real life because they display an athlete's unwillingness to work for his or her reputation. It's a form of cheating because it is an unfair advantage against players who have actually trained and practiced. The super soldier serum is different because it was made for war, not sports. In real life, when a war is going on, whenever a side in said war discovers a tool or weapon that will give them an advantage over their enemy, they are going to exploit that tool or weapon until they win. Don't believe me? Look at the atomic bomb. Look at the helicopters and napalm bombs used during Vietnam. Hell, even look at the real-life soldiers who use steroids. During World War II, when Captain America was first created, American soldiers were injected with morphine and many other drugs in order to perfect their reflexes and strength on the battlefield. There is no such thing as cheating in war because in war, people use unfair advantages all the time. Do you know why? Because war isn't about being fair or sportsmanlike, it's about survival and conquest. War is not a game. It's a means to preventing the other side from taking control of your valuable resources and territory. Countries who are engulfed in war will go to any means necessary to ensure that they win the war. That is why the super soldier formula was created, so that all the American soldiers would be turned into superhuman beings with strength, speed, and reflexes 10 times stronger than that of a regular human. That is the difference between Steve Rogers and someone like Barry Bonds. Steve is not a sports player, he's a soldier. Anyways, moving on to another bogus criticism is the idea that Captain America is an offensive symbol of American arrogance and propaganda. Now, I will freely admit that this was probably true during the 40s, but the character has gone through a bunch of changes over the decades. Remember when I talked about Steve being a man out of time who has to adjust to a new time period? Well, explain to me how that correlates to him being a tool for real-life American propaganda. When was the last time you saw a modern piece of military promotion that had Captain America on it? This argument is ripe with fallacies because when you see advertisements for the military nowadays, there aren't any fictional characters appearing on the screen telling you to join the army. They just show a montage of soldiers skydiving, riding in tanks and choppers, and other action movie stunts with stylized photography, and a narrator with a deep voice telling you why the Marines, Navy, Army, or Air Force are awesome. What does Captain America have to do with this? Yes, I get it. His name is Captain America. I now dub you Captain fucking Obvious. So just because his name is Captain America, that automatically makes him a soulless embodiment of American pride and superiority. If that's the logic you're going with, then you might as well say the same about G.I. Joe. You know, the real American hero. How about the Justice Society of America, or the Justice League of America? How about Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters? Just because these are characters that happen to possess American motifs, that automatically makes them shallow, vacuous archetypes whose only purposes are to show how awesome America is? If Steve Rogers is a propaganda whore, then you can pretty much say the same about Optimus Prime, Spider-Man, Superman, or fucking Mario. And that's only because all those characters have nearly identical color schemes that happen to be mostly red, white, and blue. Explain to me how Captain America is a patriotic slave. when he's fighting alongside foreign superheroes like Black Panther and Swordsman. Let's not also forget that he led a resistance movement against the US government during the Civil War storyline. Yeah, pretty pro-government, that Captain America guy. Also, most people seem to have the problem that Captain America's only weapon is a shield. Yeah, out of all the trivial things, the biggest problem with Cap is the fact that he uses an ancient Greek-style shield. Allow me to respond. Steve Rogers is one of the strongest non-powered characters in the entire Marvel Universe. His reflexes, speed, agility, and strength are 10 times greater than the peak conditioning that a normal human could possibly reach in all those categories. In addition, he is one of the top 3 hand-to-hand combatants in the whole Marvel Universe. This is a guy who could defeat 10 karate black belts simultaneously in less than a minute without even breaking a single sweat. The shield is all he needs. Anything more, and he's one of the most overpowered heroes in the Marvel Universe. When someone fires a machine gun at Batman, he'll disappear with a smoke pellet, reappear behind the gunner, and knock him out. When someone fires a machine gun at Green Arrow or Hawkeye, they duck behind cover and fire arrows back at them. When someone fires a machine gun at Captain America, he quickly throws his shield, performs a series of backward handsprings to dodge the gunfire, at which by the time he performs the 5th handspring, his shield will have sliced the guy's machine gun in half, and then he would proceed to front flip over to that guy's position and shoryuken his fucking ass. Simply stating that Cap is a capable fighter is an insult to his very existence. Let's also not forget that he knows Sun Tzu's Art of War word for word. He's such a badass that he's trained several characters in martial arts, like Hawkeye, Falcon, She-Hulk, Quicksilver, Iron Man, Ant-Man, Wasp, and his own sidekick, Bucky. Let's not also forget that this is a guy who can actually run 40 yards in less than 3 minutes. The only characters I can think of who can last in a one-on-one fight are among the greatest Marvel fighters, like Iron Fist, Black Panther, and Shang-Chi. So you would have to be a real big idiot not to realize that Cap is a complete badass. Hell, in the Marvel DC crossover, Batman himself states that Cap could outfight him given a long enough amount of time. And even if you subtract the super soldier serum from his body, Steve Rogers still possesses an indomitable will and spirit that nobody can extinguish. He's the type of guy who would never give up under any circumstances. He's accepted his own death and will keep on fighting to the bitter end. One last thing I want to touch upon before I end this video is that characters like Captain America or Superman and Wonder Woman are a very peculiar type of character. One reason that's been explained to me why there's such an intense hatred for these old, politically driven superheroes is that they were made for a time period that was tailor-made for them, and that the issues that they stand for have long since passed, and that they can never truly be relevant to anybody again. Well, allow me to shoot that argument down with another character and fellow Avenger of Steve Rogers, Iron Man. Iron Man was a character who was only created to add fuel to the patriotic fire that was happening during a period where the Cold War was at its zenith. That's right, kids. Iron Man was a character whose sole purpose was to fight communism. Why do you think half of his whole rogues gallery consisted of nothing but Chinese and Russian guys like Mandarin and Crimson Dynamo? Iron Man was created for the exact same reasons as Captain America, Wonder Woman, and Superman. But you know what happened to Iron Man? He was seamlessly integrated into the modern age. Any character, no matter how strange or outdated they are, can be made cool and interesting with the right amount of talent. It happened to Iron Man, it happened to Batman, as far as I'm concerned, it happened to Captain America, and it can happen again with Superman and Wonder Woman. Well, that concludes my super long defense of Captain America. I really hope it was worth the wait, and I'll catch you all later.